Question: can sexual orientation be changed through conscious decision-making or therapy? The question itself is highly charged with its seeming implication that one sexual orientation may be preferable to another. But some men and women do want to change. And tonight our cameras for the first time are allowed inside a retreat for men that claims it can help. It costs $650 a weekend, and it's all part of the newest wave of so-called gay reparative therapy. Ryan Owens has our report.
Meet Preston, a 28-year-old from outside Salt Lake City, Utah, who has just landed in Houston for a weekend with his buddies.
I'm definitely excited to go and take part in it.
They've hit the road to the outskirts of town toward a small, secluded camp. Preston left his wife, Megan, at home because this weekend, it's just for the guys.
It's so good to see you. To be able to connect from one man to another with no facade, with no, nothing holding back. It's just amazing.
Part summer camp bonding, part therapeutic peer counseling, this 48-hour retreat is called Journey Into Manhood.
Take a deep breath and let it out.
The purpose of the weekend is to help men like Preston overcome what they call unwanted same-sex attraction.
You walk into a room with these men and all of a sudden they know more about you than people your whole life have known about you.
For the next 2 nights, the men will bunk together here.
I'll be on the bottom bunk here. This will be my spot.
For some people, gay is never going to work. That kind of life, that way of living is just not going to gel ever with their value system. I am powerful over what I think and what I do.
David Matheson is a licensed counselor. Rich Weiler calls himself a life coach. Together, they founded the retreat in 2002. This is the first time they've allowed cameras inside their controversial organization. All but a few of the men asked us not to show their faces.
I want you to identify someone that you felt an attraction to recently that you need to process.
What are the stories you're telling yourself about him at that moment?
If God was in human form at that moment, it would have been this guy.
Can you allow yourself to not hate those feelings?
I want to grieve the fact that I feel things I don't want to feel. It's like a war is going on inside, and I can't stop it.
Journey Into Manhood changed my life. I learned that I really could change.
Journey Into Manhood is part of Weiler's outreach organization called People Can Change, which is built on the non-scientific premise that people can actually change their sexual orientation if they just work at it.
It's just a wonderful place to be.
Preston, who requested we only use his first name, says he was interested in boys from an early age. Tell me when you first remember struggling with an attraction to men.
Probably be about age 12. It wasn't a struggle prior to that until I learned from other people and was shamed into thinking it was a problem.
Raised a devout Mormon, he feared his family would reject him, so he kept his feelings a secret. When were you first sexually with another man?
I was 23. It used to be a very, very difficult and very shaming and quote-unquote disgusting part of my life.
At 25, Preston married a woman, but was still privately struggling with attractions to men. He says a buddy told him about Journey Into Manhood, and he decided to give it a shot. That was 3 years ago.
It's been life-changing. It's been a whole new take on life. It's been absolutely miraculous for me personally.
This particular weekend is a reunion. All of these men have attended Journey Into Manhood before. Most of them are religious, married to women, and some have children.
Was there a time when you took on an identity as gay or straight?
Journey Into Manhood is an intensive 48 hours of what Weiler calls deep emotional work.
Go ahead and start to take off those that you've already discarded prior to coming here this weekend.
In this exercise, the men are to confront identities from their past. Next, they are encouraged to find new labels that describe the man they aspire to be.
You feel the strength of that man. You know who you are. The shadow, it's still there, but it has shrunk in the daylight of the noonday sun. It is who you are. It is who you are becoming. It is who you are called to be. Welcome that into your life.
The exercise is one of many that's meant to build up a sense of masculine self-confidence.
I was gay identified for a short time. I identified myself as bisexual for a short time. I was very, very conflicted. But absolutely identify myself as straight today, feel straight, behave straight.
Dad, father.
Outside the cabin,
Bring the man with you.
Bring your man with you.
activities are used to teach metaphorical lessons.
It's the same type of walk through life. We need other men to help guide us and show us the way to go. Holy cow, holy cow, holy freak.
What in the world does being blindfolded and running around, what does that have to do with shaking your attraction for men?
It's the underlying issue of what are my fears? How am I afraid of other men? How am I not showing up as being truthful in my life?
Later, back at the cabin, it's time for each man to get in touch with his inner child.
Go back to some of your earliest memories. Invite the pictures, the images. Invite the feelings. Welcome that little boy's energy now. Part of that little boy is still in you today. Welcome him. Draw a picture of him.
The exercise hinges upon their basic theory of what causes same-sex attraction. At some point in childhood, a man suffers a trauma that pulls him away from male figures. Because of this loss, he yearns for male love and starts to seek it out sexually.
It's not about suppressing my same-sex attraction. It's about fulfilling it in non-sexual, gender-affirming ways.
Rich claims the key to changing is fulfilling these needs for male attention in non-sexual ways. Close relationships, platonic male bonding.
Some people are going to watch this and say, is this guy a therapist? The answer is no. Is this guy a psychologist? The answer is no. How do you know what you're talking about?
Because I've lived it. This is lived experience. I found that the psychological community pretty much abandoned people like me.
The American Psychiatric Association's position since 1973, almost 40 years now, is that homosexuality is not a mental disorder. It is not something that requires psychological treatment.
Doctors like Jack Drescher say change therapy is not legitimate from a clinical standpoint and warn it can be harmful.
Many people report that they feel depressed, suicidal, anxious, and hopeless. Those are not uncommon responses.
Preston, this is a metaphor for life. In life, you find that these are the things that stop you, just like these guys physically are going to stop you.
Despite its critics, Preston says the therapy has helped a lot with his marriage.
But you're still attracted sexually to men?
Sometimes. Sometimes. I feel a significant diminishment in that attraction. It is, without a doubt, much more of an emotional attraction than it is a sexual one now.
Visualize life on the other side of this.
But the question remains, can Preston be a husband and a lover to his wife?
Just push right into it and listen to the voices. Listen to the voices.
That when we come back.
And so we return now to our inside look at something called Journey Into Manhood, a retreat that claims it can help men alter their feelings of sexual attraction for other men. Ads for groups offering similar so-called solutions to homosexuality can be found across the internet, but they're not only controversial, as we've seen, they could be dangerous. Former participants tell us. Here's Ryan Owens.
Thank you for holding this for me, but it's mine. It's yours.
Yeah! All right, honor this man. Honor this man.
How difficult is it to maintain a marriage when you still have feelings toward men?
I wouldn't say it's difficult. It's an adventure.
Are you sexually attracted to your wife?
Now, yes. There was a spark of attraction before, but now, absolutely.
But you had to work on that?
Not specifically on that. I had to work on my own sense of masculinity.
You felt what you wanted, and you made it your reality. Oh.
Preston admits he occasionally is still attracted to men.
As a man among men, I know. If I don't stay focused on what I want to become, I'm gonna get stuck. I'm gonna stay stuck. And then I turn to the homosexual behavior.
You see warriors on horses. You see spears, you see swords, you see the king.
Preston insists the retreats have changed him.
As the king comes closer, you feel the thrill and the shudder of being in the presence of this mighty being.
Some people will say, here's a guy who is gay, and who is doing everything he can not to be what he is, and that there's this internal struggle going on that's completely unnecessary.
So I would invite that individual to come and experience the weekend. Like, come and experience change.
But some former campers we spoke with said they had very negative experiences. 23-year-old Ben Unger grew up in an Orthodox Jewish community in Brooklyn. In 2008, he attended a Journey Into Manhood weekend in Virginia, led by Rich Weiler.
There was a guy on the weekend who said he didn't feel masculine enough or something, and they told him to take off all his clothing. And then everyone else in the room also took off all their clothing, and they just surrounded him. At one point, they suggested that I take my clothes off, and I refused.
Unger says the exercises were traumatizing and completely ineffective in helping him change. Ultimately, it left him worse off.
At some points, I was suicidal. I felt that it was my fault that I wasn't changing.
21-year-old Chaim Levin was also desperate for help when he attended 2 Journey Into Manhood weekends in 2007 and 2008. Levin describes a degree of touching and cuddling that we did not see the weekend we were permitted to film.
You were supposed to choose someone in the group to hold you like a child, and he was supposed to represent the father image inside of you. It looked very erotic in a lot of senses.
To the most attractive guy there.
We offered Rich Weiler the opportunity to respond to the allegations on camera, but he refused to grant us a second interview. Instead, he issued this statement, saying that they do offer non-sexual father-son style holding, though it is completely optional, fully supervised, done in a group setting with clearly taught guidelines. And we've never seen any inappropriate touch on a Journey Into Manhood weekend. Unger and Levin are now both openly gay and have strong warnings for young people considering this therapy.
Don't feel desperate to go to these organizations. There's also the option of being truthful with yourself and being a happy person without feeling there's something wrong with you.
But supporters of this so-called therapy point to young men like Preston and to his wife, Megan. We visited them in Utah several weeks after we first met Preston at camp.
Right or wrong, the question everybody's going to want answered is, how is your sex life?
Great. I will be honest with that. It's wonderful.
Preston admits that he still does sometimes feel attracted to men. Do you ever catch him checking a guy out?
I do, and I've actually been quite honest that I prefer to see him do it than to have him try and keep it a secret. Because, if we're driving down the road, I would rather see him do a full-on look at the guy next to us than keep trying to sneak a peek.
So do you both look at the same guy sometimes? Okay.
We have very different tastes.
Preston's therapy work is more important than ever after the couple received this news.
She's pregnant, and we're really excited about it. What an opportunity and what a blessing.
Preston will soon be a father, one of the things he's wanted his entire life. Whether he can achieve his other goal, that journey, he's the first to admit, is still underway. I'm Ryan Owens for Nightline in Salt Lake City.